Hello, family. So, welcome to this episode of the Sageology podcast. We're going to be talking about July 24th through the 30th. So, this is a kind of quiet week, but I actually really do like the astrology of this week. I think this week is really good about seeking clarity and get grounded. I said this in my last podcast episode, but I do feel that it is vitally important that people start to get grounded right now because as of right now, two planets are retrograde, but in September we'll have like 6 planets retrograde or something crazy like that. So Venus is going to be retrograde, Mercury is going to be retrograde, Saturn is going to be retrograde, Jupiter is going to retrograde, as well as Neptune and Uranus, I believe. So when so many planets are retrograde at once, it can definitely be confusing, and sometimes people could just get lost in the sauce or kind of lose track of their progress of what they set out to do, their goals. So when planets are retrograde, they are definitely indeed moving backwards throughout the zodiac, but that doesn't mean that you should move backwards in your life. That means that you should be healing and taking care of any loose strands. So when planets go direct, you could hit the ground running. Think of retrogrades in your life as you running a marathon and you slowing down to like a jog or a fast walk to sort of check out the scenery of things, catch your breath, that sort of thing. And when planets are direct, think of it as a full sprint. Retrograde should not be you walking backwards or delaying the race any so ever. But we're gonna I kind of got off on the tangent. Before we get into the astrology of this week, I do quickly want to mention Venus being retrograde and this Mars Saturn opposition that we are experiencing right now. So the planet Venus is retrograde in the sign of Leo. So basically this really is going to be challenging our self-worth. Like, what do we really want? How are we working to get towards it? Venus and Leo is, how do we honor ourselves? What are our daily routines? Like, what do we do every day to honor ourselves? What do you feel like you deserve? What do you allow yourself to put up with? Venus retrogrades are always challenging. Not always, but sometimes Venus retrograde propose challenges in your love life, in relationships, but also Venus retrogrades are symbolic of a period of really great spiritual warfare and dedication. If you look in the Bible, right? In the Bible, there have been several instances of 40-day periods where there was some sort of task or challenge that people had to get through in order to come out on the other side. Not just the Bible, but in order in other mythologies as well. Don't quote me on this, but I believe Persephone, she had to go to the underworld for like 40 days or something like that. I also believe something about one of the gods, maybe Krishna or something, being in the underworld for 40 days. Please don't quote me on that. I'm not as familiar with the mythology about it, but what I can speak on is the Bible. So during the Great Flood, God made it rain upon the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. When Moses, to receive the 10 Commandments, he had to go on Mount Sinai for 40 days and 40 nights. Goliath taunted the Israelites for 40 days until David finally defeated him. And the most famous example, people talk about this all the time, even if you're not Christian or grew up in a church, you probably heard people reference this. Jesus was in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, and the devil came to him and actually tempted Jesus. The devil came and tempted Jesus himself. And then after that, once Jesus completed that, went through that journey, that transformation in the desert, that's when he started to teach his ministries, So Venus goes retrograde for 40 days. Venus retrograde cycles are 40 days. So that kind of symbolizes the spiritual dedication that we need to have during times of Venus retrograde, where often our faith are tested. But whenever we go through a situation where our faith is tested, best believe that God always rewards us double once we get out of it. So I do believe that some people will use this upcoming Venus retrograde cycle, or will be experiencing a test of faith in this upcoming Venus retrograde cycle. So I really just encourage you to use this 40-day period as a devotional of some sort. Rather you are intentional about praying, rather you fast from a vice, cut out sugar, cut out processed food, whether you just dedicate yourself to waking up before sunrise every day and having some personal time, whether you dedicate yourself to meditating every day, something that you don't normally do. If you're a super disciplined person and these things are already a part of your routine, I applaud you, because that's honestly amazing. But, I really do encourage people to choose some sort of like spiritual dedication during this time to kind of help you with that. And if there's anything that you kind of feel lost in or in your life, that you're struggling to manifest, dedicate this Venus retrograde period to coming out of that and just diving within, finding out what you feel like you need, what you feel like you deserve. And when you come out of it, I promise you'll be a better person. Even once the other planets start to go retrograde, like Mercury and Jupiter and blah, 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 I do believe that if you do it right, this Venus retrograde cycle will definitely give you the clarity that you need, so you won't feel so kind of wandering in the dust, lost without direction in September, when all those planets are going to start going crazy. And I have a feeling that spiritual warfare is just going to be off the ass in the fall. I have a strong feeling that we're going to see some crazy things. I don't know what the news is looking like, but my guides have definitely been telling me to watch out for the fall. So take this time to get your shit together and really get grounded and seek God. That's my advice. And also, I do want to say too, I probably should have mentioned this before I went on this whole Venus retrograde tirade, but when we look at Venus, people always think Venus is just love, happiness, money, which is true. Venus is love, happiness, and money, but Venus is also spiritual, like dedication. One of the ancient significations of Venus is priests and priestesses, people who had a dignified Venus or a significant Venus in their chart, not even just dignified, but sometimes Venus in detriment or fall. That's a powerful placement as well. These people were keeper of the temples. They were occultists back in the day. When astrology was being created, lots of civilizations, they had different temples that they would dedicate to different gods, and they had people who had to maintain these temples, and who had to do the ritual for these temples, and who would be priestesses or priests of said god. But not even just that, like you could even be like a Christian priest or priestess, or even a healer, or even just a person who has spiritual gifts. So Venus definitely does have a sort of spiritual aspect to it, which a lot of people forget. They just contribute Venus to, money, or even the arts, like musicians or whatever. But I feel like that spiritual aspect of it is highly underrated. So I love to remind people about that all the time. And so before we get into the astrology of this week, let me also talk about this Mars-Saturn opposition real quick. So I do believe that I touched on this in my last podcast. The opposition went direct on, Thursday the 20th. So the opposition went direct on Thursday the 20th, but right now it's kind of a little bit 2 degrees off. So I want to say that Saturn is maybe still at 6 and Mars is probably at like 8 or 9 or something like that. So with Mars Saturn opposition, that's just a lot of times it could feel like you don't have direction, you don't know what to do, you're second guessing yourself, you have cold feet, you're dragging your feet, you don't know which way to go. Virgo and Mars could really get in the head and start overthinking, over contemplating things, but baby, you just have to make a decision and just go. I say my best advice for you is that if you are confused, and a lot of people are being called in redirection right now. But if you are confused and you're not being called in redirection, think about what you wanted to do at the beginning of the summer. At the beginning of the summer, what were your goals for the summer? Like, what were you focused on this summer? What did you want to do? And if you feel like you're being called towards the redirection, just really think in your heart, like, what decision feels right to you? What decision brings you the most peace? Not what decision is right on paper, not what you feel like is logical, not what you think makes the most sense to do, but what decision feels right in your soul. When you think about it, it just gives you that warm and fuzzy feeling. You could fantasize about this before going to sleep and you know that you'll rest good. You know, if you dream about this, you could wake up in that dream and be satisfied. So I think that's what people really have to consider. And even if you don't have everything all figured out, baby, just put one foot in front of the other and things will start to fall into place. Don't get caught up like a deer in the headlights. Don't get stuck. Don't get afraid of the possibilities and what could be. Just strive for more. Just strive for more. And I promise you'll be okay. All right, so let's finally get into this week. So, kicking off Monday, there's really nothing going on. The moon is in Libra and it's going to be making a minor aspect opposition with Chiron. So, again, like with this transit, my best advice is to don't really too much consider what other people are thinking. Don't let other people's opinions infiltrate your own self-worth and what you feel like you need to be doing and what you know that you need to do in your own soul, heart, and spirit. F them, girl, or boy. Y'all, throughout this podcast, if I say girl, that's just probably because, when I talk to myself in my head, I say girl a lot. But if you are a man and listen to this podcast, I sincerely apologize. This is an open podcast for all. This is a podcast for men too. So if it slipped and I say girl sometimes, just please know that I'm not calling you a girl. But anyway, back to what I was saying. It's okay to be selfish sometimes, and I think sometimes when we start to take in other people's opinions and perspectives, it really does cloud our own judgment and we forget what we wanted to do. I was listening to this advice from an entrepreneur one time, and someone asked her, what's your best advice, your biggest advice that you can give to young entrepreneurs? And she said, don't tell anyone about your ideas. Don't tell anyone about your plans, especially when you're just starting, because it's too new. It's like your baby. And I believe she was the lady who created Spanx. So if you guys want to Google her and maybe find out what I'm talking about, do what you can with that information. But she was basically saying that when you have a project, when you have an idea, and it's new, you don't want to introduce that idea to other people because you haven't done enough work to make it concrete, to make it silent, and you're still really vulnerable. So yeah, if it's something that, okay, let's take this Venus retrograde, for example, and you said, okay, God, coming out this Venus retrograde, I want a promotion. I want a promotion at my job coming out this Venus retrograde. I feel like I deserve a promotion. I don't know how I'm going to get the promotion. I maybe haven't been to school as long as this other person, but I know the skills of this job and I know it good and I know that I deserve it. I'm doing all the work anyway. Baby, don't tell nobody that. Just focus, because you start talking to your homegirls, be like, Well, girl, you know you wasn't in school for that, right? Don't worry about that because all that stuff is gonna dim your confidence. So once you have been working on something and it's concrete, you put enough money behind it, you know, you got your LLC, you got the labels or whatever, then yeah, maybe once you know you're not going back, you too far down the road to the point where you've gotten to the point of no return, then you could start talking to other people about it. But when you still getting that groundwork done, we still doing that groundwork, baby, just please don't tell nobody about it. It's really not their business and they don't need to know. So that's Monday. And on Tuesday, we have some minor transits. Pluto will be square the North Node, and we do also have the moon going into Scorpio. So, with the moon going into Scorpio, that's really just like deeper introspective. People, I do see sometimes people get moody with this transit, but don't really get moody or like too in your feelings about everything. But I do think that this is a great time to dive deeper and do some introspective work. It's also a great period of self-reflection. And while the moon is in Scorpio, she will be making a square with Leo. So again, that could kind of be bringing up some of that Leo and Venus stuff that we was talking about. And I do like that this is coming at that this aspect is being formed at the beginning of this transit, this Venus Leo retrograde, and not more so the end. So I think right off bat, I love this because right off bat, Venus is retrograde, right? And then as soon as Venus goes retrograde, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, coming out the gate, we're going to start being attacked. Our subconscious is going to start, doubting us and thinking, is this real? Is this true? You're stupid. You can't really get this. But ignore that. And then don't be afraid to explore where that comes from. Think about, why am I thinking this? When and where did these thoughts get planted in my subconscious? And what is my true self saying? Like, take this opportunity to go deep, and even if you have to set out piece by piece and knock off each one of those points, you get what I'm saying? Even if you have to write down, okay, make a list, be like false, and make a list that's true. False, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I can't accomplish this. Truth, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Okay? I'm sorry, y'all. I grew up in the church, so I think in a very Christian way. I have really Christian programming. I wouldn't consider myself Christian, but I have lots of Christian programming, and that's just what works for me. So I might be referencing the Bible a lot and quoting scriptures a lot. If you don't like the Bible, that's your problem. But I'm saying this to say that you don't necessarily have to be Christian to use this to apply to you. So if you don't want the Bible scripture, maybe think of an affirmation. I'm not worthy. I deserve all things. You get what I'm saying? So definitely use that. And if you're not Christian, I strongly still advise you to use the Bible as a spiritual tool because there's lots of gems in that. So go on that journey. It'll change your life. But anyways, so yeah, and Pluto squaring the North Node on Tuesday as well. That's just kind of like a challenge. Again, a challenge to our destiny, a challenge to our faith. Those insecurities are going to start mixing and stirring, and the little dark things that are tucked away in your subconscious are going to be brought to the surface, and it's time to handle that so it doesn't sit and fester. Like, exercise them hoes, don't let them crawl back tucked into your subconscious. So once you almost at the finish line, you trip. No, handle that shit now. So that's Tuesday and Wednesday. So Thursday, our transits are, Mercury is going to be conjoining that retrograde Venus in Leo. The moon will enter Sagittarius, and we also have Mercury trine the North Node. So I do believe that this Mercury conjunct this Venus, I think that this is a great opportunity for talking about love or talking about issues that come to self-worth. If there's any, after you took your time to like reflect and think about things that think about your insecurity or whatever, and you process that, once the moon goes into Sagittarius and once we have this Mercury Venus conjunction, I do believe that this will be a great time to maybe have those conversations with the people that you love. So again, Venus also does represent our relationships, not just romantic but platonic as well, and you can use this opportunity for healing. So in couples, I encourage you to use this Venus retrograde to go deeper in a relationship and heal this together, especially if you have any important fixed sign placements. This Venus retrograde is definitely going to be affecting you more so than others. But let's say you did the deep work, you deep dive, and you recognize that a lot of these attacks from your subconscious are coming from things that your father said to you when you were little, or coming from things that your best friend said. You know, if you feel the need to, or if it's a relationship that you care about and that you care to heal, I think that day will be a good day to just talk about it, you know, and just put it on the table. Be like, hey, you said this and it's been affecting me this way, and I just don't like and appreciate when you do this. So moving forward, can we not? You know, I think I think that's simple, easy, a beautiful thing to do. So I encourage everyone to do that. Thursday is also a great day for planning. I love that Thursday is Jupiter day and we have the moon in Jupiter's sign. So Jupiter's playing a lot of action today. And Jupiter's also in Taurus right now, fixed energy. So very much coming through with the blessings. So use Thursday to visualize your best life, girl. I think this will be a better day for planning, a better day for clarity, especially coming out that Saturn-Mars opposition. You may feel unstuck. You may feel crystal clear now and be like, okay, yeah, I want to do this. Okay, yeah, I want to do that. This is how that's going to come about. You can start meeting people, places, things, just kind of alignment for everything to come together. So Thursday is also a good day to journal, plan, just think about if money wasn't an issue, if time wasn't an issue, if, you know, I live in my own like imaginary play world video game where I could just kind of create stuff like Minecraft. This is what I want. This is what I want to do. This is who I'll be. Thursday is a great day for that. Moon in Sagittarius, be open to adventure. Baby, get out the house. Go for a walk. Go. One of my favorite ways to like manifest is window shopping. I think people be sleep on that. I like to go window shopping and pretend that I'm a rich housewife, baby. I will go into the Gucci store. I will go into Louis Vuitton. I will go into Hermes, and I'll be looking at all them bags and just pretend that I'm buying them hoes. I'll be going at Home Goods. I'll be looking at all the expensive stuff, all the expensive furniture. So I think people sleep on this, but window shopping is a great way to manifest. So do that. Go window shopping. Get outside. Look for stuff that you can get into this weekend of fun. I think this is going to be a fun weekend, good transit. Definitely coming out of like being in your head at the beginning of the week and getting outside towards the end of the week. So Friday, where Mercury will be entering Virgo. So, y'all, let's talk about this. So Mercury's entering Virgo, you guys. Mercury will be going retrograde in this sign later. So pay attention to the stuff that is happening once Mercury enters Virgo. Pay attention to your thoughts, your ideas, where your mind goes. Not really. Okay, I'll take that back. Don't pay attention. Well, you kind of can pay attention to your thoughts, idea, where your mind goes, but That's important, but that's not that important. Pay attention to what's happening in your life, because what's happening now once Mercury enters Virgos is stuff that's going to be corrected once Mercury goes retrograde. So, and this could be the same thing for Venus and Leo too. If you're confused about this transit and what it means to you, go look back and what you were thinking and what was going on in your life when Venus first entered Leo, now that is retrograde. But okay, so when Mercury first enters Virgo, it's going retrograde later. So when Mercury enters Virgo, you need a new person. Red flag. Mercury into Virgo, and you get a text message for someone that you haven't heard from in a long time. Or Mercury's into Virgo and someone asks you if you want to do this or have this plan. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do these things. Just know that it's probably going to take longer for these things to manifest because Mercury is going retrograde later. So I'm really saying proceed with caution. Expect for issues to maybe manifest later. But I don't think that you should do it at all, because Mercury in the sign of Virgo is one of the highest, most dignified places a planet could be, because Mercury is exalted and rules the sign of Virgo. So it's in its domicile and it's exalted in that sign. No other planet, no other sign has that function. So Virgo is a really powerful sign. Mercury in Virgo is a really powerful transit. So I do think that ideas, synchronicities that happen during this transit could be very much in alignment. Could be blessings that happen later on, but just know it's going to take some work for it to get there. So that's that. That's Friday. Use this for clarity. Start planning. I love Thursday and Friday for like planning and visualizing, kind of coming up with a adjusted game plan of what you really want to do. So I love that. And then, just don't let that Venus retrograde get to you. Don't let your insecurities run a fool. Just, be optimistic, think the best. Moving on to Saturday, the moon will enter Capricorn. So, that's really like thinking about your money with Venus. Venus retrograde could challenge finances as well. So with the moon in Capricorn, don't start feeling bad about your financial situation. I already know how this is going to go. Venus is going to be retrograde. I know I probably said that about 50 times this podcast. I know y'all are tired of hearing that. But Venus is going to be doing what she's doing. Then the moon go come in Capricorn, that everyone's going to be, I'm not making enough money. I can't afford this. How am I going to do that? I need to get a third job. Just sit the transit out and let it pass. You will get over it. I bet you 10 times out of 10, that's how people will start feeling. Sunday is a quiet day. We have no major transits. The moon is just going to be doing stuff. It's going to be making supportive aspects, trines, and sextiles with Mercury, Saturn, Mars, and Jupiter. So I actually really like this day. Use it for constructivity. So yeah, try and use that energy to be constructive. Again, I do feel like that's the theme of this weekend, kind of getting outside, allowing life to happen to you, be constructive, kind of get out the shadow world, get out your head and think about what you can do, things that you can do. So I do love that for this weekend. So don't become woe is me over finances. Think about constructive plans that you have that you can make. Really use that Mercury in Virgo, that you use that Mercury in Virgo, because also that's gonna really bring the clarity that you need, and that's also gonna help Mars in Virgo out too. So again, Mars in Virgo, Mars is our action, Mars is our drive. So you ready to implement action, implement plan, but Mars kind of like, okay, well, what the fuck? I'm getting caught in the details. Somebody give me a strategy so I could go, so I could activate or whatever. So Mercury is going to come into Virgo and help Mars out and be like, all right, listen, bro, this is what you need to do. So take heed to that. That has been this episode of the Sageology podcast, coming from Monday, July 24th through Sunday, the 30th, we are gearing up for August, y'all. Should I tell y'all what August is going to be about this podcast or last podcast? You know what? I'm feeling good, so I'll give y'all a brief rundown. Actually, should I? I don't know, because I want y'all to listen to the next episode. I will say this. We're having 2 full moons in August. So, yeah. But I'll give y'all the rundown of what August is really going to be about the next episode. But to kind of leave you on like a teaser, cliffhanger, we're having 2 full moons in August. So, y'all come find me next episode and we'll talk about it. But I love you guys. I pray that you have a wonderful, beautiful week. And yeah, stay safe. Be blessed. Thank you for listening.